Hello again. No, I'm not sat on the toilet. It's just an update on the tap situation that I had yesterday. We found out that the tap was leaking around the top end. What I did is I went up to Campbells Caravans in Blackburn. I spoke to them in the shop and they didn't have any of the taps in, and he wasn't overly sure about the seals. And he directed me down to the service department, which is just around the corner. And when I got there, I spoke to a gentleman there. I can't remember his name, but they were really, really good. They took me into the workshop. I showed them a picture of the tap. They explained to me what it was, and they actually got a tap out of their workshop and showed me how to do the job. And basically, they assured me that this is the problem. It's the cartridge that sits within the tap, and they say that's the only place, if the water was coming out at the top of the tap, that's the only thing that can be wrong with that. There's no seals at the top of the tap. There are just some little seals at the bottom there. So what I'm going to do is going to go ahead and replace that. I'm just going to show you how I do that off what they told me yesterday. So this is the offending tap, and the first job we need to do is to take the label off for the hot and cold. Now that just pops out like that, which I've just lost on the floor probably, and inside here, I don't know if you can see that in there, but there's a screw inside there. So we're going to take that screw out, which loosens the head, and that lifts off. The next part is to take this sleeve off here. You just turn that and that comes off, and then you're revealed with this big nut here, which I'm going to use more grips to loosen that. Obviously I'm going to hold the tap as well while I undo that, because I don't want that twisting the whole of the tap. Okay, that's started to come undone. It's quite loose now. So if I undo this, there's possibly going to be a little bit of water in there. So we undo that. And pull that out, and that's only a bit of water in, but that's the fitting that has failed. I don't know if you can see at the end there, it looks like the seals are slightly a bit worn. Well, it didn't quite go to plan. This is actually the day after the start of this clip. When I took the cartridge out yesterday and I went to replace it with the one that Campbells gave me, I realised that it was a different size. The actual cylinder was smaller. So I phoned Campbells up and I explained that it was a different size, and they were a bit confused by this. So I went back up to Campbells and I showed them what I had taken out, which was this one, and the one that they gave me was quite a bit smaller. Now, he spoke to the head mechanic there, and they had never seen anything like this before. They said they could contact Luna, but it might be 6 weeks before they actually get the part or get them to look at it. So I was getting slightly worried. Well, again, the lads at Campbell's were really great. They had a good look at it. They see that if it was possible that it could be fixed. They were really helpful. They gave me my money back, and I was quite happy with what they tried to do for me. So I came back to the Caravan and I thought to myself, I'm going to have to get another tap. My first thought was to try another Caravan dealer. So I phoned Stuart Longton up at Chorley, and I phoned the shop there. So when I phoned Stuart Longton, a lady answered the phone, and I asked her, has she got any, or have they got any stock, any mixer taps, shower mixer taps for a touring caravan? She sounded a bit confused. She says, yes, we do stock those. And I asked if they have the seals, or do they know, does it come in separate pieces? And at that point she started to say, no, it's sold, don't sell that one. And I was a little bit confused at this point, so I just hung on for a little minute, and then she said, what do you want? And I said, I want a mixer tap for a shower in a touring caravan. And I started to talk about the problem that I had with it, and then she started to say, no, that one's sold, it's definitely sold. Now it dawned on me at that point that she was actually talking to somebody else, and she wasn't actually listening to anything that I'd been saying to her. So I just stopped, paused for a second, waited to see stop talking, and I said, "You're not listening to me, are you?" And she basically said, "No, I'm not." And I just replied, "That's really rude, really ignorant. I'm a customer phoning up for something and you're just completely ignoring me. I will take my business somewhere else." Now, if I'd have phoned up and she'd answered the phone and said, "Can you just hang on, I'm dealing with a customer," I would have said, "No, that's great, no problem." But she didn't, and she just carried on and ignored everything that I was saying to her. So, Stuart Longton, your shop in Chorley, I think you need to look at customer service, because for me yesterday that was really poor. So anyway, back to what I did then, is I came obviously to the caravan and I got the tap. So I actually went to a plumber's merchant's near where I live, and I took the tap in as well, and I took this piece in. And surprisingly, I don't know why, but this tap is a domestic tap. So at some point, before somebody who's had the caravan before me, the actual original tap has been taken out, and then they put a domestic tap in. This is why this section here is larger than the normal caravan one. So they just basically said, "Yeah, we've got loads of those," and they gave me a new one. It was as simple as that. So this is the new one. So what I'm going to do is fit it back in and show you how to fit it back in, and then because it'll apply to any mixer tap in a caravan if they go, and then I'll show you how I'm going to connect it back up. So this is the tap, and inside there are two locating pins. You can see these pins here, and what you've got to do is locate those pins onto that, so it just sits in and it's located on there, and then the lock nut, or the brass nut, goes on top there. So let's just tighten this up. You should really possibly use a spanner for this rather than doing it this way, but I just haven't got one that big. That's nice and tight. So that's just pushing the seals back down to the bottom of the tank. So that should hopefully be nice and sealed. I can only check that obviously when it's actually fitted back into the fitting and it's watered up. So, and then this cover goes on top. So the handle just fits on top there, like so. And then there is a screw which is in this hole here, which we're just going to tighten up. And that just fixes onto the top of the plastic handle. You don't want to over tight that because it is only going into plastic. So I've had to take the whole plastic moulding off from the shower to replace this. So I'm just going to fit this back into here. So the two fitments going into there. Like so. And then this piece here just fits, it's just like a normal tap, just fits on there, it's like a washer, fits at the bottom. And then you have another brass fitting that fits around the tap. So they fit on nice like that. So, and then there's two of these little bolts that just slide on. You screw those up. So that's the tap all fitted back onto the plastic moulding. That's the two pipes connected back up. This is another reason that makes me think it's been changed, because they're not the normal fittings, I don't think. They are slightly bigger, more like the domestic ones, and they just feed up towards the tap. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a bit of like tissue round these seals, so while we're away next week I'll be able to just take it off and just check whether they're wet, and then I'll know whether there's any further leaks. So that's it, all back in, all refitted. We just need to, obviously when we get away, when we fill it up, just check again, make sure that it's not leaking, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So that's the tap fixed, hopefully, cross fingers. We won't know properly until we fill it up with water tomorrow when we get on site. So I will update you on progress with that. So thank you for watching. Please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon from some updates from our holiday. Bye bye.